Chris, morning. How you doing? Chris still sleeping on me, huh? Morning, everybody. We'll get started here in just one moment. Let your classmates get into class. From yesterday? I know I shouldn't have done that either. I ran out of time. Oh, of course. Oh, yeah. That's right. Hey, man. We got our ways. All right, Zoom. As I hope you can see, we are going to be doing a Pear Deck today. So the code is on your screen, or should be. If it's not, let me know. As you get there, I'm going to start to take attendance at least. Those in class, yeah, obviously code right there. So let's see. Oh. Leave that code in until everybody gets in. You got 15 on Zoom, 14 not counting me, 11 on here. And then once you get on there, feel free to go ahead and start that warm-up question. If I gave you a gift of $401.30, what would you do with it? You can do anything you want. I'm just giving you this gift because I'm a nice guy. Me and Mr. Burnett scrounged up our change. Came up with $401. I don't think it matters. I think they just spaced out to chunk it as they teach us in the education biz. Little chunk action. Ian, good morning. We are doing a Pear Deck today. Code's on the screen. Go ahead and do the warm-up question when you get there, please. right, how many we got? We got 18 on Pear Deck. We got 6. Is everybody in here on the Pear Deck? Yeah. Cool. So quick math. So Pear Deck says it's invalid. Zoom, anybody else having this issue? Did anybody else have this issue in class says it's invalid? Did it work for everybody first try? Olivia, just keep trying. Maybe close out your web browser and try again. I'm going to finish up attendance here, guys, and we will get going. Like I said, make sure to do that warm-up question. We'll be coming back to that a little later. Olivia, let me know if that doesn't work, please. And then Zoom, if anybody else is having that issue, obviously let me know as well. $18, $17, you're on here, 16 plus 4. All right, we need 4 more of you on this Pear Deck, please. This is easy participation points, easy assignment. It's gonna be worth 10 points today. So all you gotta do is stick with me, answer some prompts throughout here, and then we'll get you an easy 10 points. All right. If you need the code, let me know. Okay, Olivia, thank you. All right, so we got to use some of it on basketball equipment, basketball shoes. Save it. When I get something, I will then use it to help buy what I want to get. Clothes. Invest 200 and buy some shoes. Luke, you got an advanced answer there, man. Nice job. You invest your money? How do you do that?
Like every time I get paid $20,
This guy. Look at this guy. All right. Y'all can take some notes from Luke. My dad would be happy. He's a financial advisor. So yeah. Yeah, man. The earlier you start, the better. Let's see. Donate to Black Lives Matter. Come on, that's awesome. Feed the homeless. Pay my parents. Man, some selfless answers. Well, my answers would not be this nice. That's very nice. Buy myself a Nintendo Switch. That's more along my answer. Save it for a rainy day. Save it. Invest in a mutual fund. Oh, that's Mr. Rent. That's that's that guy back there. I was gonna say the real Mr. Renshaw, my dad would be very happy about that one. Spend it with my parents. All right. Good answers, man. Chris, waiting on your answer. All right, cool. That was interesting. Kanan, what'd you put? Save it? Part of the Save It crew, huh? Fair enough. Yeah, I didn't expect this many like save it for rainy days and invest it and much more responsible answers than I would have certainly given. Did you? Run right through it. Yeah, that's unfortunate. I'm 32. I still feel that way. I got to be a little bit more disciplined. All right, let's get the ball rolling a little bit. Announcements today. First things first, period 1, obviously, you guys, the current events tomorrow, I believe is just Mariah. Correct me if I'm wrong. That is according to the list on Canvas. So if any of you are going tomorrow, including Mariah, make sure to have your presentation turned in on Canvas by 8 o'clock tonight. That way you don't get dinged for an easy 5 points. If you have any questions, anything about that, let me know. And then other than that, makeup assignments due today. So if you wrote anything in your Monday asynchronous article or asynchronous assignment, excuse me, about what you want to do to make up those for 100%, let me know. So, because I think quizzes are still open. The main question about that is, hey, Mr. Renshaw, I tried to turn those in, but it's locked. I'm aware of that, but send it to Mr. Burnett's email on Canvas, and I will see it, I will grade it, and I will get it applied. Many of your work, if not all of your work, has not been graded this week. It's been very busy for me. I'm getting observed today for my program, so I've been focusing on that a little bit too much, but I'll be having those grades in either today or tomorrow at the latest. So if you're wondering about when those are going to get added, that's your answer to that question, but just send those things into emails to me. And then if you have a Google Doc, make sure to allow Mr. Burnett's email to view it, or make it viewable by everybody is the easiest way. Tomorrow we don't have any quiz, so I know you guys usually stay up late studying for those rigorously, but tomorrow no quiz, and then we're just gonna be doing the current events, and then we'll have some other work time TBD, to be decided on that. Any questions before going forward? None in person. Any on Zoom, let me know. Send a message, you know how it goes. All right, so today's lesson, capitalism versus the world, new money, new elite, new problems, more money, more problems. We all know that. So we've been covering capitalism, communism, socialism this week, getting the basics kind of down, seeing what we know about it, and expanding on it. So today we're going to be examining this learning objective right here, examining the impact of the economic changes of the Industrial Revolution, which we have covered the last week and today, economic changes. We'll get into that here in 1 second. And then what kind of effect and those had, or impact those had on the development of political and economic theories, both of the time and right now. So first thing we're going to do, a little review, little connecting the dots here. On your right side of the screen, answer what specific economic changes occurred during the Industrial Revolution. You'll see below there are a couple different types of hints, or whatever you want to call them. So there's types of economic systems, Adam Smith, Karl Marx, what improvements were made, what happened to industry, types of jobs, that type of stuff. So anything you can think of, go ahead and type that in. Might have to think back to last week's intros, the crash course video, that article assignment we did, the 3-2-1 assignment on Thursday. A lot of those things are gonna apply. Make sure to think about economic as well, not just political or just housing or where people moved, but economic changes. Give you about 15, 20 more seconds to get that done. If you don't know, that's fine. Write something, say, I don't know, or I slept that day, or whatever the reasoning might be. All right, so here's a couple. We're going to get into some more official reasons, if you want to call them that, next slide. But more people who usually couldn't buy things could now. So yeah, a lot of new money. Factory jobs were made. More factories, more people leaving the farmers to go to work. It's good. Capitalism, socialism, communism, good. And my brain is off. I put that because I'm sure we can all relate, Kamira. I agree. My brain feels off here lately too. 7:20 is very early. So all good answers. What economic changes occurred? So what we've talked about in the past is new economic systems, obviously capitalism, communism, socialism. Luke pointed that out. Improvements to machinery, technology. A lot of your answers were about that. So think about agricultural revolution. More people had food. More people could afford to buy food. Cotton textiles, Britain got rich off of. Coal, steam engine was improved. Iron refining. So that iron was then used to build railroads, build machinery, steamboats, which allows us to easily move resources across the country, whether it's in the UK or at this point in time, Great Britain, Europe, or United States. It allows us to become more connected as a people. People begin to work long, hard, harsh hours, especially women and children get paid less, have to do more hours. Children have the most dangerous jobs, which doesn't make any sense. But here we are. Captains of industry and robber barons. So we touched on this on Tuesday. So if you're not familiar with the term, that's fine. But what you need to know about this is kind of what we're going to be talking about today. So what you're going to need to know is they are the same type of person. Captains of industry, positive term, hence the plus sign. Robber barons, negative term, hence the minus. They are, depending on your view, how you feel about these new rich, these new elite people that rose up and conquered this new economic system. And depending on how you felt about them, depending on whether you called them a captain of industry or a robber baron. So capitalism, let's see. Oh, I don't want to do that. All right, good. Capitalism. Here's some, so those are the changes, right? If we remember our learning objective, we're going to investigate how those changes impacted these things, the economic and political theories caused by the industrialization. So industrialization allows robber barons, captains of industries to get incredibly rich, which leads to criticism from many non-rich people, as we can all relate to today. These economic changes lead to these policies right down here. One of them should look familiar to you. Laissez-faire capitalism. We'll get into that in 1 second, a little bit more depth. Social Darwinism, which is a new term for us, and Gospel of Wealth, which is an article that I'm sure is new for most of us. So the order of the day is there's going to be 3 documents that we're going to highlight, read together. So as I read through this, I want you to highlight, annotate's another word for highlight, what you think is important and what you think represents laissez-faire capitalism. So starting from the top, quote, when individuals follow their own self-interests, it automatically works to the benefit of society as a whole. As individual competitors pursue their own maximum profit, they are all forced to be more efficient. This results in a cheaper goods in the long run. Free competition in all markets and with all goods and services is thus to be encouraged. Government intervention serves only to make operations less efficient. There should be a minimum of government interference. So, as I said, we've talked about laissez-faire before. Adam Smith being the Enlightenment thinker that coined the term. So when individuals have their own self-interest put out there, they believe that it naturally works for the betterment of all society. People enrich themselves better, and the rest of society benefits from that. So with the this capitalism comes new schools of thought, new abilities for people to make that money as an individual. So with this, I highlighted some things I think are important for you to remember and what I would have highlighted if I were doing that last exercise. Individual self-interest automatically works, benefit of society, individual competitors. So what I want you to do, there's a multiple choice prompt on there. How do these people feel about government interference? Yeah, a lot of us are realizing this. Government interference is bad in all ways. So capitalism, we still feel this way in capitalism today. The less amount of government interference, the better it will be for everyone. They did not have the benefit of we do of living after something like the Great Depression, where the lack of government interference leads to instability in the world's economy, and everybody suffers for it. So a very somewhat closely related term, I guess, is something called social Darwinism. Before we get into this, what does someone notice about this term? Now, have we? None of us have heard this term, right? I'm guessing. Huh? Yeah. Right. So yeah, Tim brings up a good point. We've heard of probably one part of this name, and if I was highlighting it, I would probably start by highlighting this term right here, Darwinism. Where does that term come from? What? Someone named Darwin, yeah. Who's famous named Darwin? Charles Darwin, right towards the bottom there. The whole thing? Nice. So Yeah, what Herbert Spencer, who's a philosopher we're going to talk about here in a minute, what he's doing here is if you take these two terms, Darwinism is known for the survival of the fittest philosophy. Social, what do you think that's going to refer to? So, well, no, not socialism. That's a good guess though. Society, applying it to the rules of society, applying it to people. So if you combine that, society, people, Darwinism, combine those together, this is his view of Darwinism, survival of the fittest in society. Let's go ahead and read before we go though. So Herbert Spencer proposed a harsh survival of the fittest philosophy. The bright and able contribute most to society, and so are to be encouraged and rewarded. The poor, this is crazy. The poor, the weak, and the handicapped demand more than they contribute, and so should not be supported, but rather allowed to die a natural death, harsh. If natural principles were followed, evolution and the survival of the fittest and the competition of human life would be the result. According to Spencer, it applied to all people. Spencer applied to society the same principles that Darwin saw in biological life, hence the name social Darwinism. So kind of what we've already talked about, I highlighted some things there, boldened some things there. What I want you to try and answer and think about is, do you see evidence of this in human nature? Do you see evidence of this in society? Are there times when people do better than others? Or are there times when we allow people to die natural deaths because, hey, they're just not fit enough or good enough to make it? Do we see evidence of this in real life? Explain why. Or how, I guess is a better way to say it. Make sure we're responding, guys. I look through each one of these, make sure we respond. If you do that, you get an easy 10 out of 10. Ethan, Ian, Jacob, Chris, Armani. Yeah, if you don't know, that's fine. We're about to talk about it. Like a lot of these answers. All right, I know a few of you are still typing, which is fine. I'm going to throw a couple answers up on the board here. I want you guys to share your opinions too. If you don't agree with something, for sure say that. If you do agree with it, for sure say that. There's no right or wrong answers. We're figuring this out together. But a few of the ones I wanted to highlight, yes, because sometimes people are just better than you in certain areas. You might get left behind. Dying is too harsh, though. I agree. Dying is a little harsh mindset to feel this way. But there are certain times when people have certain abilities. If you look at somebody like LeBron James, that dude is built to play basketball. His mind helps out, his effort helps out for sure. But somebody like that is born to play basketball. So there is some evidence of this. I think the problem is when you start to blanket everything in this thought that this is how the whole world should work or society should work. Everyone is super independent. They are kind of all for themselves. I think that there's a lot of truth in that a lot of times. But I also liked this as well. I would say we see it in homeless people, but not a lot since people started shelters. Most people like to help others. So I think there is an innate humanness to helping others. And I think a lot of us do like to help others. So yeah, it's two sides of the same coin. See this in life because people that are unable to do tasks should not be rewarded. That's also a thought. Animal evolution, Europe in the age of exploration, they're also very good. And then people who are super wealthy are able to afford healthcare in America. That's a good way of applying it to today's issues. Those who don't have that money can't really get by without it. So social Darwinism is defined in that term survival of the fittest, which oftentimes gets applied to Darwin. In reality, this guy came up with it. Philosopher Herbert Spencer is an English philosopher. He believed in competition. Some are going to thrive, some are going to die, some are going to have some hard times. He didn't feel this was evil. He felt that this was fairness. He felt that this was ultimate fairness, and that to avoid this would be lying to the truths of nature. So he came up with this term. What you need to know about people like Herbert Spencer, people that lived during this time, is they, especially in people in his position, were openly racist. I don't know how else to say it. They had an inability to kind of see evolution in a way that was how we see it today, where people evolve and people, not just people, but nature evolves. He felt that, and these people felt that evolution was a straight line. Anglo-Saxons were here, they developed to a certain point, everybody else was somewhere behind them. So that's where a lot of these thoughts come from, is this unequal mindset. Used to justify inequality, the rich are rich because they are better or stronger, let the poor and weak die. This isn't all Herbert Spencer did, and we got to keep in mind, he's working with the information they had available to them. If it is popular to feel that Darwinism is correct, and the correct way to look at the universe and nature, naturally, you're going to try and apply that to society. You're going to apply those rules, just like we do today, to apply to all these other philosophies. That doesn't make it right. That doesn't make it morally okay, but that's what we all tend to do, is use the information at our time to justify the nature that we see around us. So another person who would definitely subscribe to this theory is John D. Rockefeller. We mentioned him on Tuesday slightly. You've probably heard his name before in the past. I don't know how much you've studied about him. But what I want you to do is I want you to look at this picture. Look at what you see. I'm going to read this quote as well. Maybe that'll help you figure out the picture. I don't know if everyone can see it with my big head in the way, but I guess you got it on your screen too. So the growth of a large business is merely a survival of the fittest. There's that term again. The American Beauty rose can be produced in the splendor and fragrance which bring cheer to its beholder only by sacrificing the early buds which grow up around it. This is not an evil tendency in business. It is merely the working out of a law of nature and a law of God. So type in there, what do you see in this picture? Try and get a little bit deeper than a flower and a man or a rose. Try and see what this picture is heavily symbolic. They're definitely trying to send a message. What is he holding in his hand? What is this giant thing right here? What is it growing out of? Give you about 15, 20 more seconds here. waiting on this last answer because I think it's shaping up pretty good. All right, so let's take a look at a few of your answers. The first one I loved. A lot of dumb reasoning to help back their disgusting way of thinking, like we are humans are not flowers. That is a great way to put it. I think we're a little bit more in depth than a simple flower. I think we're a little bit more in depth than, okay, you have to cut off a little bit early rosebuds to justify making a bigger rose. I think that we can all recognize beauty in things other than just the most beautiful thing that we can possibly think of. But a man sacrificing another man, possibly a poor man, to this rose that provides money and happiness. Very good. Flower representing an oil company, not just any oil company, by the way. Standard Oil is the oil company. These guys were John D. Rockefeller. We haven't talked about him much. The richest man in American history. If you Google how rich was John D. Rockefeller, it says how the richest American ever, worth about $400 billion in inflation adjusted dollars, or at the time about 2% of the US GDP, meaning for every $100, random $100 you find on the street, 2 of those dollars would belong to John D. Rockefeller. That's how rich this guy was. All that money was accumulated in one person. So income inequality, still pretty bad. I think we can all probably agree with that. But it used to be much, much worse. Metaphor for an economical monopoly. I think that's a very succinct, good way of saying it. And then the large flower, or the flower is the large business and the man is other people. People take things from the business just as the man is taking a piece from the flower. Yeah, I would say this man represents one person, John D. Rockefeller. And he is, yeah, Francesca, it's the God complex. I think that's a good way to say it too. He is looking at this dead early bud that represent, if you look at this pile down here, all of his dead competitors. He had a habit of going and buying up his competitors. He would offer to pay them money to end their company. And if they didn't, he would just crash the market. Their company would die anyway because he controlled the entire early oil supply. He owned all the pipes, all the technology, crash the market. That company would die off. He would survive because he was big enough to do so. And then he would buy the rights to their technology and their manufacturing anyway. Business 101 at this point in time. So what I want you to do is think about this. Are aspects of social Darwinism true? Or at least can you see why someone in this time period would feel this way? Give you about 10 seconds to make up your mind. Obviously, your answers are private. There's no reason to worry about, what I think or what your classmates will think. All right, so get this out of the way here. We'll lock the screens in 3, 2, and 1. All right, so pretty split, and that's fine. That's what I was hoping for. Split answers are aspects. That's all I'm asking of this thing true. Now, if I'm going to unlock this and I'm going to ask the question, does this justify or explain why groups of people do not prosper like others? If I rephrase the question in that sense. All right, so some unchanged, that's fine. Most of you went to no, though. I think the majority of us, all right, the animals. I think the majority of us would, on that second question, do you think this justifies why some people don't have money? I think a lot of us would say no. All right, so the last thing we're going to annotate or highlight is this article written by Andrew Carnegie, another robber baron / captain of industry, depending on how you look at him. So I'm going to read through this. The wording is a little much. It's written very much in 1800s rich guy language. So bear with me. But this then is held to be duty of the man of wealth. This is the duty of the man of wealth. First, to set an example of modest, unostentatious living, shunning display or extravagance. Second, to provide moderately for the legitimate wants of those dependent to him. In his judgment, is best calculated to produce the most beneficial results for the community. The man of wealth thus becoming the mere agent and trustee for his poor brethren, bringing to their service his superior wisdom, experience, and ability to administer, doing for them better than they would or could do for themselves. So, in your own words, what does he mean? Do your best. I understand that the language is a bit much. What do you think he's trying to say in this? There's some things highlighted here. Duty of the man of wealth, set an example of modest living. Man of wealth, trustee to his poorer brethren. We're going to move a little bit quicker than that last one in the interest of time. About 20 seconds, 25 seconds to get your answers in. Thank you. There we go. Chris, Wesley, Jacob, Azareth, Armani, make sure to answer something. All right, let's look at these answers. He is saying the rich need to help the poor people by setting an example. I think that's an easy, good way to say it, rather. He doesn't flaunt his money. Yeah, the unostentatious living, that crazy word, helps out people who are less fortunate than him. This one, I think, succinctly puts it in a very good term. It is a wealthy man's duty to help the poor. Yeah, you're kind of foreshadowing where we're going here. Rich people need to set an example and provide for poor people. Not only that, because he views poor people as unable, not only poor people, now keep in mind, but people that are mentally ill is how we would define them today. People that are not ideal, can't fend for themselves. I think a lot of us would feel that way though. Homeless people, I think a lot of that is mental illness. I think we can all probably agree with that, and I think we could all agree that those types of people do need some help there. So for the time, Andrew Carnegie is an interesting guy. So this is an article, The Gospel of Wealth is an article that describes the responsibility of wealth by the new upper class, these new people, these new robber barons, captains of industry that have all of a sudden gained much money and much power. So he can be looked at to remember by as the OG Uncle Ben from Spider-Man. With great power comes great responsibility. Justified this by social Darwinism, the term we just talked about, that the survival of the fittest type thing. But he was, for the time, maybe not for our time, but for the time, the dude was pretty progressive. This quote down here: "The man who dies rich dies disgraced." And obviously, we haven't talked about him much either. At one point, he had $480 million. That's how much he was worth in the 1800s. So that adjusted is about 350 billion in today's dollars. He probably had more too, because these people know how to hide their wealth, and he's also not the type to flaunt it, at least according to reports. He sold his steel business though towards the end of his life to spend time with his family, and donated 350 million of his dollars before he died. So he definitely put his money where his mouth was. He hated charity. Instead, the wealthy should use money to help the poor help themselves. Thus, he donated libraries, supported institutions of higher learning, wanted to empower people as opposed to just simply, hey, here's some money. He felt that would corrupt people and they wouldn't know what to do with it anyway if he did give it to them. So what I want you to answer is, what motivations, considering him, Carnegie, considering Rockefeller, considering everything we've talked about, what motivations would rich men have in this time or even now have in donating large sums of money? I put men because that's what we're talking about today, the time period. This could apply to anyone though, so rich men, women, whoever. Some of you hit the nail on the head immediately. I love these answers. These are great. All right, let's get through these. So tax breaks, somebody hit the nail on the head. That can definitely be a motivation. So he could feel good about himself to help others, but honestly, I'm not sure because in today's society, the wealthy hoard money. This is very true. Yeah, it can be a mixed bag. Maybe good publicity. Excuse me. People who are loyal to him, I think they would just trick people into thinking they have a good vibe. Also a possibility, and to help others, just some good old fashioned altruism out there. So this is not an all encompassing answer. These are just some things we just hit with the last slide. But what motivations would rich men have? Feeling of duties to society, humanity, general altruism and goodwill. I think a lot of people said that. I'm sure a lot of good people that have money like to donate that money out of goodwill. Helps their image with the average people. And also, a lot of you alluded to this, seeking influence over those they donated to. If I donate a bunch of money to you, are you going to feel indebted to me? Are you going to be a little bit more likely? If I gave you $400, would you be a little bit like, all right, I guess I'll, play ball a little bit. You're gonna look at me in a different light. So let's connect the dots to today. Finding relevance, what good can come from this? So that number that we started with, $401.30, that number is Bill Gates' net worth as of January divided by the US population, and that equals 401.3. So I want you to keep in mind, how did you spend that money? What good did that go to? A lot of you, it surprised me. A lot of your money went to things that are good. Was not going to be my answer if I was 14, 15 years old sitting there. I would have been in the shoe video game category of things. But a lot of you helped out your fellow man. So when all that money is put into the hands of one single person and one small entity, a lot of good can come from it. Bill and Melinda Gates being one of them. $47 billion endowment, vaccination of developing nations. He's been doing this for a long time, decades now. 3.2 billion spent on dispersing global health, AIDS vaccine, malaria. He's pledged billions to help combat COVID-19 and has donated $45.5 billion. Probably donated more than any other human in history. Now he has more money than most any other person in history, but he's also given it too. So educational grants in the US, building libraries. So a lot of good has been done. Some examples of from the past, John D. Rockefeller, who we talked about, gave away $500 million to the Rockefeller Foundation, a very influential foundation to this day. Founded the University of Chicago, our leading research university, cured yellow fever, dudes out here curing diseases. Andrew Carnegie donated 90% of his fortune, as we alluded to. Carnegie Hall, libraries, PBS he started. So what did you do with your $401? It's a lot harder to contribute to causes like that when you don't have as much money as that, which I understand, not all of us do. But if all that money is distributed evenly, it can be tough to go to things that do big, important projects and helping COVID-19. It's tough to find a way. So your opinion here, and there's no right answer. Does capitalism work? Will this solve the problem of the poor? What problems do you see with all the money being held by a few? All right, we're not going to look at a lot of these answers like we did with other ones. Very spirited reactions, though. Not surprised by a lot of these reactions. And I'll let you see them later. I'm just highlighting some quick ones. A lot of great answers, though. Please don't take offense to me not highlighting your answers, because there are a lot of good answers in here. Just some quick ones. Yes, and the problem that would happen would be corruption. I think we can all agree with that. A lot of power, a lot of responsibility can easily be corrupted. I think it might benefit some, but it would cause a lot of more problems, so I don't think it works. Capitalism could work if everyone rich and poor did their part. I don't think it would solve the problem of, I'm guessing they're going to say the poor. and no, which fair enough, man. I understand. All right, your exit ticket today. Last thing we're doing in 20 words ish. How did the industrialization allow theories of laissez-faire, social Darwinism, and the gospel of wealth to take place? Think about what we've talked about this week, last week, today, everything in between. That'll be the last thing you do. And then you go ahead and close out the paragraph. That dude is so enthusiastic. How old is he? Dude, he's the man. He's the man. I want to be like 1/8 as psyched as he is. All right, guys, that's the bell. Like I said, if you've sent that, you can go ahead and exit out either way. Thank you for your participation. I really appreciate that. Have a good rest of your day. We'll see you tomorrow.
I think you have a great rest of your
Make
day.
sure to turn in those missing work assignments, guys.